What do you think that an Audi A8, a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, a Lexus RX and a Nissan GTR all have in common with this, the plug-in hybrid Renault Rafale? Well, if you guessed that they all have a performance-orientated four-wheel steering system, then you would be correct. Congratulations, you win a prize. Unfortunately, it's not the Renault Rafale. Hi guys, I'm Tish and welcome back to the John Banks Review YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you about the plug-in hybrid high-performance SUV, the Renault Rafale. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. And if you like new car reviews and car content, you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also, if you wanted to test out the Renault Rafale for yourselves, then you can do that at John Banks Renault. I'll pop all of their details in the description box down below. But let's start by talking about styling, because this is one stylish looking SUV. This car in particular, this is the Renault Alpine Atelier. This is the top spec version of the Renault Rafale and it looks fantastic. You also have this mattified blue paint colour which looks brilliant, especially when you can just see it peeking through the grille there. You've got this gloss black grille, the big Renault badge, and this kind of almost scaly effect is all made up of Renault shaped badges. You also have the slim headlamps with that white design and the Renault detailing underneath, almost like a little bit of a wallpaper pasted inside of there. You also have the daytime running lights, which if you popped them together would actually create a Renault badge. It's very cohesive. Now with this being the top spec model, it also gets 21-inch alloy wheels in a very cool design inspired by Alpine. You've got the two-tone of the gloss black and also the chrome. These are large wheels and often that can account for a not particularly inspiring ride, but Renault have actually done something to improve this, which we'll talk about when I drive it. So what about the back of the car? Well, here it really showcases that sleek SUV coupe design, and it definitely has drawn inspiration from the BMW X4, which is no bad thing. I think this looks brilliant. You've also got a black spoiler that just sits atop the roof. You've got the darkened rear glass, and then you've also got a boot spoiler as well. But my favourite bit is you've got these smoked lights. It really gives it that sporty feel. You've also got a gloss black diffuser at the bottom, but this car isn't trying to be a performance car, so you won't find any fake exhausts. That coupe roof may leave you wondering whether this is still a practical car, and the great news is it is. Now inside the boot of the Renault Rafale, of which all versions do get an electric boot, you will find 535 litres, and that's regardless of if you go for the strong hybrid or if you go for this plug-in model, and that is really competitive. It is around the same amount that you get in a BMW X4, and as you can see, you've got a really wide open space. You've got the chrome which just sits on top so you don't scratch up that boot entrance, and you also get an adjustable boot floor with just a tiny bit of storage underneath there. Now you do get more storage underneath the boot floor if you go for the standard hybrid option. You also get plenty of hooks and you get a nice sturdy parcel shelf. So even though Renault have opted for that sporty coupe design, you don't lose out on practicality. But what about the interior of the Renault Rafale Alpine? The interior of this Renault Rafale is fantastic. I love it so much. It's such a mix between feeling modern but also classic in the way that you still have loads and loads of buttons on the steering wheel, buttons for your climate control. You've also got this really cool sliding charging pad, so it feels quite cocooned in. You've got a real sense of driving enthusiasm thanks to the fact that you feel like you're in a cockpit of a plane. And talking about planes, let me tell you about this sunroof. This is Renault's solar bay sunroof. So this actually opacifies at the touch of a button, which is really cool and feels uber premium for a vehicle from Renault. So why did I say about planes? Well, that's because just at the back of the sunroof you have this tiny little plane picture, and that's because Renault Rafale actually started its life as a plane. back to the interior. You've got this lovely leather-wrapped steering wheel, which is a really cool shape actually. It's not quite round, it's almost very hexagonal. You've also got the red, white and blue stitching, which harks back to Alpine. You've got these lovely sport seats, leather on the outside, Alcantara on the inside, and you've got that peek through of the blue once again, where you can just see the Alpine badge. And let's go back to this centre console because I really love it. You've got this almost fighter jet, see, talking about jet again, in this slider where you can slide it forwards and backwards to reveal hidden storage down here or a couple of cup holders up front. And this is also your wireless charging, and in this plug-in hybrid model you also have an EV mode here, so you can put the car on electric only, which is brilliant. You've got a fantastic central touchscreen here in the portrait orientation with Google built in, which is fantastic. That works really well. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is wireless, but you can just use the Google Maps, which I think is good. You've also got heated seats, a heated steering wheel. It pretty much has every bit of tech you could possibly need. And one of my favourite things about the interior styling of the Rafale is just how dynamic it is. You've got this two-step for the dashboard with the Alcantara, that stitching, but then you've just got chrome which sits underneath that top part of the dash. You have got little bits of hard plastic, but they're in places that you would never reach. You've got this almost grey effect which goes across the ceiling, which makes it feel sporty and dark without being too dark. It actually keeps things nice and bright. You've got chrome on the doors, and then you've just got lashings of the ambient lighting which sit across the top. You've got that Harman Kardon sound system which looks so premium, and then you've got gloss black door handles. They've really put a lot of thought into the styling of this car, and it hasn't gone unappreciated. As I get behind the wheel of the Rafale, I'm struck by its performance-orientated engineering. Whilst it shares the same 1.2-litre petrol engine as the less powerful hybrid, the one in this plug-in has a new turbocharger for a bit more power and a reinforced 6-speed automatic gearbox to deal with the extra torque and weight. This is joined by a collection of 3 electric motors and a 22 kilowatt-hour battery, which work with the engine and gearbox to produce 296 brake horsepower and distribute it between all 4 wheels. As a result, the Rafale will get from 0 to 62 in just 6.4 seconds, which is useful performance and a vast improvement on the standard Rafale. The torque is also readily available because of those electric motors, making it feel responsive and lively. However, I do notice that at times the throttle can be a little bit hesitant, especially if you're eager to unleash its full potential. And at first, I was a little bit concerned that the battery was almost completely depleted, because often with plug-in hybrids, once the battery has completely gone, you then have an extremely heavy and sluggish SUV. And especially with this being fitted with a 1.2-litre petrol engine, I thought that was going to be a problem. But actually, I've been really pleasantly surprised. Even with very little energy left in the battery, it still drives like an extremely good hybrid car. Officially, this top-spec Rafale Atelier Alpine has a zero-emission range of up to 59 miles, but that's boosted to 65 if you go for the Techno Alpine version. When the engine's called upon, the system still works as a regular hybrid to keep fuel bills in check. And even with very little charge in the batteries like proven here, Renault reckons the Rafale will return the best part of 50 miles per gallon, something proven to me when I drove this car on a longer motorway journey. Of course, the electric range and low emissions mean company car tax will be affordable, making the higher price tag for the extra performance not such an issue. Renault have definitely borrowed more than a little bit of engineering from Alpine. The continuously variable dampening system does a great job of balancing comfort and agility. It allows the Rafale to handle bumps while still maintaining a sporty feel. And I can really appreciate the thoughtful design when you hit uneven surfaces. It's clear that this isn't just another plug-in SUV, and that's exactly what Renault have tried to achieve. The 4Control 4-wheel steering system enhances the driving experience, providing a solid sense of poise and responsiveness that's a real step up from the other Rafale model. The steering feels just right, and I can appreciate that it doesn't add unnecessary weight or stiffness just for the sake of it being sporty. The car remains composed through the corners, and I find it enjoyable tackling roundabouts with a surprising level of enthusiasm. On the driver's side of the Renault, you will find a charging port. Now, looking at this at first, you may wonder whether it has CCS charging, but unfortunately the bottom part is not available. It is AC charging only, of which it has a maximum charge rate of just over 7 kilowatts. That means if you have an at-home charge box that reaches 7 kilowatts, you can be fully charged and back on the road in around 3 hours or just under. Overall, the Rafale delivers solid performance, blending practicality with engineering driving dynamics. Its electric range is useful for short trips, and even with the battery depleted, it offers respectable fuel economy and performance. And whilst it may not be the most powerful option out there, especially compared to some of the more premium models, the design ensures the driving experience that feels purposeful and refined. If you're in the market for a stylish D-segment SUV, the Rafale definitely deserves a spot on your shortlist. So the Renault Rafale is an incredibly impressive plug-in hybrid SUV. It looks fantastic. You get a ton of specification as standard. And when you go for this plug-in hybrid 300 horsepower model, you get some real performance that you wouldn't expect from a car in this class. But let me know, what do you think of the Renault Rafale? Pop all of your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below. Don't forget, if you was looking at purchasing one of these models, then you can click the link in the description box and chat to one of our sales team at John Banks Renault. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.